the WNBA finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just...
Welcome back to WNBACORE. WNBA fans, something huge is happening. Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham have made a shocking move, and now the WNBA is facing major attention. With Commissioner Cathy Engelbert reportedly stepping in, everyone is asking the same question. What exactly did Clark and Sophie do? And why has the situation become such a big deal? So, without wasting any time, let's jump straight into today's video and break it all down. Reports state that the meeting room doors at WNBA headquarters were securely shut. Additionally, the atmosphere inside was one of intense panic rather than just tension. The meeting was not scheduled by WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert to discuss regular scheduling modifications or quarterly revenue. Insiders described this emergency situation as a last-ditch effort to preserve the league's narrative before it totally went out of control. The WNBA as a whole was taken aback by a startling move that was the true cause of this sudden concern. It was revealed that Sophie Cunningham and Caitlyn Clark had shocked everyone by signing a new contract with the New York Liberty. This was more than just a standard agreement. It was a move that might change the league's existing power structure. Tensions have been simmering beneath the surface for months, with referees swallowing their whistles while rookie players were being relentlessly targeted in the paint and older players denouncing the league's new face. However, things had changed now. The WNBA was shocked by Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham's rumored choice because the 2 women were the talk of the league. This was more than just a basketball issue. It had grown to be a significant concern over player power, the league's future, and the shifting dynamics between teams. And what transpired behind closed doors will permanently alter the sport. However, you must examine the startling action involving Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham in order to comprehend why Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is perspiring. This was not only a standard roster selection or a courteous suggestion. The WNBA was rocked by this powerful move. According to sources, Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham have reached an unexpected agreement with the New York Liberty, drastically altering the league's landscape. You can tell something far more significant is going on behind the scenes when 2 well-known celebrities make such an unexpected move. The New York Liberty's acquisition of Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham is rumored to have the potential to alter the WNBA's power dynamics. What this implies for the Indiana Fever, and the league as a whole, is already being questioned by fans. Since Clark has grown to be one of the most well-known figures in women's basketball, and Sophie Cunningham has also become a significant topic of discussion, the move has caused a great deal of stress. Together, their unexpected choice to team up with the New York Liberty might result in one of the most exciting narratives the WNBA has seen in a long time. The commissioner's untenable position is the reason this situation is so unstable. As teams, players, and fans respond to the unexpected development, Cathy Engelbert is currently dealing with a storm that is sweeping the whole league. It is hypothesized that Engelbert was forced to face the potential implications of the Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham contract with the New York Liberty for the league during this private meeting. The message in honesty was probably brutal. This is a significant alteration that could fundamentally alter the WNBA's power structure. It's not just another roster move. A move this startling was unexpected. Therefore, the tension must have been thick enough to cut with a knife. Everyone is currently anticipating what will happen next. This urgent conference follows the startling New York Liberty agreement between Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham, one of the most significant decisions in WNBA history. According to many, fans throughout the league were shocked to learn that Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham had signed a contract with the New York Liberty. They didn't only make a standard roster change. They apparently made a choice that might fundamentally alter the league's power dynamics. Everyone probably knew that the WNBA environment was shifting after this startling action. There is conjecture that this new agreement may have significant ramifications for the league's future. Every team in the league needs to pay attention if Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham are now working together with the New York Liberty. It's a brutal power move that clashes with traditional business practices. Often the party that is prepared to make the biggest move wins. Rumor has it that the league may have to reconsider how it treats its brightest talents as a result of Caitlyn Clark's choice. Teams may now need to compete for Clark's attention and talent rather than trying to dominate the narrative surrounding her. The scenario becomes even more explosive when Sophie Cunningham moves alongside her. This leads us to another matter that may become unavoidable: officiating. If elite players are routinely being brutally hit every time they drive to the basket while referees turn a blind eye, you can't build a billion-dollar brand around them. Fans have been increasingly irritated by Caitlyn Clark's physical treatment. And now that she and Sophie Cunningham have unexpectedly joined the New York Liberty, every game they play will be scrutinized even more. The ratings can plummet and the entire investment may suffer if a star player is hurt as a result of a veteran choosing to send a message. The league might now be compelled to examine game calling more closely. The goal is to safeguard the biggest players and the value they add to the league, not to rig games. But it's the players' resistance that makes this narrative really intriguing. WNBA players have battled for better opportunities and recognition for years. Now that Sophie Cunningham and Caitlyn Clark have unexpectedly joined the New York Liberty, the dynamics in the locker room could drastically alter. While some players would embrace the new chapter, others might perceive it as a challenge to the status quo. And that's precisely why everyone is wondering what will happen next after this startling deal. Let's now discuss Caitlyn Clark's NBC announcement, a significant event that has swiftly emerged as one of the WNBA's most talked about topics. Fans, players, and commentators have all taken notice of the revelation, and many are speculating about what it might mean for Caitlyn Clark's future and the league in general. Alright, if the other celebrities decline to take part in the NBC promotions, let's move on. What would happen if the Caitlyn Clark team experienced social and cultural isolation from the rest of the league? Rumor has it that players are sending journalists private messages in an attempt to fabricate stories about how hostile her fans are or how overrated Clark is. Before this civil war spills onto the court and harms the brand, Cathy Engelbert needs to handle it. This meeting's emergency portion focused on containment. Veterans must embrace the new reality and smile for the cameras, but egos are brittle. It is feared that if the league pushes the NBC agenda too hard, the players may rebel, resulting in a PR disaster where the league is accused of partiality and insulting the game's founders. Since money is the main focus of this, let's examine it in more detail. Even if the WNBA's value has increased dramatically, this is a bubble created by a single demographic shift. There is a Caitlyn Clark economy. In certain measurements, the Indiana Fever's ticket sales are surpassing those of the entire league. Opposing teams relocate their games to larger venues when the Fever travel. The proprietors are aware of this, they are not foolish. However, the incentives used by general managers and coaches are different. Their goal is to win games, and occasionally it entails playing tough or concentrating on defense. There has never been a greater gap between the commercial side represented by the owners and Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and the basketball side represented by the coaches and players. This conference was an attempt to use force to close that gap. Most likely, the message conveyed was that corporate imperatives could no longer be compromised by basketball judgments. Without a valid medical cause, the coach cannot choose to rest Clark that evening in order to manage her workload. If NBC requests a primetime slot, the requirements of the media agreement are limiting the freedom of the basketball operations personnel. Efficiency brutally eradicates romanticism while attempting to transform a league from a niche interest to a worldwide superpower. But it's a harsh pill regarding the particular NBC announcement described. There is also a darker, more speculative perspective. According to some insiders, NBC is preparing a documentary-style series that will track the league, much like Drive to Survive for Formula One, but with a strong emphasis on the rookies like Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese. If this is accurate, the veterans' worry makes sense. They are aware that the narrative is controlled by the person in charge of editing. The veterans' reputation as the antagonists in their own league is cemented if the cameras are following Clark and Reese, and they are depicted as the villains or the obstacles that the young stars must overcome. The Players Association may have used the emergency meeting as a platform to express their fear of this possibility. To Caitlyn Clark's Harlem Globetrotters, they don't want to be the Washington Generals. They want to be respected. However, the cruel truth of sports entertainment and reality TV is that conflict sells. NBC is aware that the story of the Queen versus the Rookie is superior to that of everyone being buddies. The commissioner's job is to persuade the players that it is more lucrative to play the villain than the victim. However, competitive athletes who feel mistreated find it difficult to accept that. We must also discuss the silence. Have you noticed how cautious the recent official comments have been? The league's PR apparatus tightened its grip after the first round of jealous remarks early in the season. This emergency meeting probably reaffirmed a type of gag order, possibly not legally binding, but strongly implying that disparaging remarks about the league's cash cow will not be accepted. Management is aware that each time a player disparages Clark's popularity on a podcast, it alienates the millions of new listeners. NBC is aiming for those new fans. They switch off the TV if they watch and think the league despises the player they came to watch. This is a retention game. As Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is aware, lightning struck them. They must now keep it in the bottle. The purpose of the gathering was to align the messaging. You don't have to like her, but you can't openly undermine the product she stands for. Players who have taken pride in being vocal and self-reliant are having a corporate leash tightened around their necks. In all of this, what about Caitlyn Clark herself? She hasn't changed her attitude, saying the right things, being the ideal corporate soldier. However, she is under tremendous strain. Her aim is higher than anything we've seen in sports in a long time because NBC is putting the house on her success. The strategy falls apart if she fails or gets hurt. In essence, this meeting was a risk assessment. The wolves are surrounding the league because it is placing all of its eggs in one basket. Building a fence around it is Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's responsibility. In the off-season, rules that support offensive freedom may be changed, shorter shot timers, more stringent foul calls, unlawful defense regulations, anything to give the shooters more room to shoot. The accountants will mumble that it's safeguarding the franchise's future, while purists will yell that it's destroying the game's integrity. This emergency meeting was the cocoon stage in the WNBA's transformation, ugly, disorganized, and out of sight, but essential to the emergence of the new shape. We also need to examine the alleged NBC provision pertaining to marketing responsibilities. According to rumors, the new media agreement calls for a specific amount of promotional material from the league's biggest stars. Until you realize that it establishes a hierarchy, this seems normal. The other 143 players will compete for the remaining ad time if the network requires that Clark receive 50% of it. The agents of other elite players, including Breanna Stewart and Aya Wilson, are probably incensed. They observe that the marketing materials for a rookie ignore their clients, who are perhaps better basketball players right now. This equity issue had to be discussed at the emergency meeting when the spotlight is solely focused on the rookie. How do you keep the MVPs satisfied? Cathy Engelbert probably had to assure the veterans that even if their names aren't on the billboard, the money from it will go toward their pension fund by promising revenue sharing and a rising tide that lifts all boats. It's a deal exchanging fame for wealth. However, celebrity is the most important commodity for egocentric athletes. This meeting has ramifications that go beyond this season. The WNBA's business operations are about to undergo a significant change. The NBA funded the WNBA for many years. Many financial analysts saw it as a charity case. The WNBA now has a route to profitability thanks to the NBC deal and the Clark bump. However, that route necessitates adopting the celebrity model and giving up the sisterhood concept. The impromptu gathering served as the former WNBA's funeral. The days of everyone flying coach and staying in subpar motels are coming to an end. The new league is emerging, propelled by large TV contracts and luxury jets. However, the labor pangs are unbearable. Kicking and screaming into this new era are the athletes who are holding fast to the old ways. The vibes past doesn't matter to NBC, the broadcast's Q rating is important to them. As the transition manager, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's emergency meeting served as a kind of warning: join the group or risk being left behind. Consider the long-term consequences of the proposed officiating modifications. The scouting reports will be altered if the league becomes more accommodating in order to shield Clark. Faster, more proficient shooters who match the TV-friendly aesthetic may eventually replace the large, burly enforcers who earned a career in the paint. Every team's roster will be constructed differently. There is more than one player involved. It concerns the development of the metagame. This was probably discussed throughout the meeting. It's likely that general managers were instructed to start searching for players who would be marketable, fast-paced, and high-scoring in the new WNBA. The days of grinded-out defense winning a game 60-55 are over because that scoreline kills ratings. 90-85 is what NBC wants. Buzzer beaters are what they desire. They're looking for drama. The commissioner is aware that money departs if the product is uninteresting. She must therefore create excitement, even if it seems fake to purists. The villain arc is another component. Antagonists are necessary if the league adopts the drama as NBC probably wants. The rivalries may have been fostered by the emergency conference, but only under strict constraints. It's the sporting equivalent of the WWE. You need the heels, the bitter veterans, and the face, Clark. The risk arises when the screenplay becomes very realistic and the hard fouls become assaults. The purpose of the discussion was probably to draw a distinction between a successful TV drama and a disastrous PR campaign. They don't want the litigation, but they do want the publicity. It's a delicate dance. It was necessary to quickly put an end to the suspicions that players or bounties were deliberately targeting Clark. Kathy Engelbert had to look the coaches in the eye and warn them that the suspension would be historic if anyone was found purposefully attempting to harm the Golden Goose. A martyr is not something the league can afford. Lastly, we need to think about what comes next. There will be an announcement from NBC soon. We will see the outcomes of this meeting in real time as it drops. Observe how the next several games are officiated. Keep an eye on the marketing launches. You'll know exactly who prevailed behind those closed doors if you notice an abrupt change in tone, an abrupt cleanup of physical play, and a significant push of Clark-centric content. The pivotal moment was the emergency meeting. The WNBA is no longer a community endeavor. It's big business, and in big business, the decision-makers are the shareholders. Although the players may control the court, NBC currently controls the league. Everyone in that meeting had to face the unsettling reality that they were negotiating for peanuts in the absence of Caitlyn Clark. They are negotiating millions with her. The commissioner made an easy decision, but the culture suffered as a result. NBC is making sure the camera is aimed precisely where they want it to be when the revolution is televised. And that's a wrap for today's WNBA core. WNBA fans, this story could be much bigger than anyone expected. Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham's shocking move has sent waves through the basketball world, and the questions surrounding the WNBA are only getting bigger. What do you think? Was this the right move? Could this change the future of the WNBA? Drop your opinion in the comments, I want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this update, smash that like button, subscribe to WNBA Core, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next major WNBA story. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and remember, when Caitlyn Clark makes a move, the entire basketball world pays attention. This is WNBA Core, and we'll see you in the next one.